Hi, how you doing? Thank you so much for being here. I'm Instructor Dwayne Jenkins. In today's video lesson, what we're going to be doing is talking about something that I get asked about a lot, which is improvising. How do you improvise guitar solos and blues licks? So if that's something you're working on, stick around and I'll give you some tips on how you can do it better. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to look at 5 tips that are going to help you with your improvising, okay? First of all, tip number 1 is you got to have a good sense of rhythm, alright? So if you don't have that, that's going to be kind of an issue, because a lot of times when you go into solos and things like that, you want to know where your rhythm is, you know, like where the 1 is. You got to have a good sense of timing. It helps if you know where the chords are going to change. Even if you don't know what chords they are, it kind of helps to know where they're going to be changing, okay? Sometimes you're put in a situation where you got to improvise over something. You don't know what the chord progression is. They say it's in the key of A minor, go for it. You just got to, you know, go for it. Try to make up some stuff. But it does help to kind of know that sense of rhythm, okay? Now, if you know the chord progression, maybe you made it up yourself, that makes it easier because you know where it's going. So you can kind of act, you know, accordingly. But sometimes in especially like open mics or blues jams, something like that, you know, you get kind of a situation where they say, all right, this song's in the key of G minor, you know, and then you just got to go for it. It can get a little tricky, okay? So number 1, have a sense of rhythm. I would recommend that you study rhythm guitar first before you start trying to do guitar solos, okay? Make sure you understand rhythm, timing, chord progressions, things like that, okay? Okay, so tip number 2 is I'd recommend you learn some scales. Now you can play by ear and just kind of figure it out. There's a lot of guitar players who do. They'll spend a lot of time just kind of figuring out what sounds good. Oh yeah, if I play right here, this sounds great, you know, and then they play there, or they learn that they can play here, wherever, you know. That takes a lot of time, and you can do that. That's a good approach. It helps you with your ear training. But I would recommend that beyond that, learn your scales, okay? That's going to give you a fretboard roadmap to drive on, kind of like your car, okay? So the most common scale to start playing guitar solos is the minor pentatonic. And let's say we're going to play it right here in A minor. It would be 5-8, 5-7, 5-7, 5-7, 5-8, 5-8. Play it backwards, 8-5, 8-5, 7-5, 7-5, 7-5, 8-5, okay? And you can also play it up here. Now that's just one scale. There's, you know, thousands of scales. There's actually 5 pentatonic scales that I would recommend you learn all 5 of them. Okay, but start with just this one. It's probably the most common one that everybody uses. All the great guitar players, all the masters, all the master blues guitar players use it. Jimi Hendrix, Eric Clapton, Jimmy Page, you know, you name it, go on and on and on. And it's useful in a lot of different styles of playing as well. Not just rock or metal, but blues and country and pop and everything. So I would highly recommend starting with that. Start learning that scale and be able to play it up and down, forward and back, up and down. Okay, get that pattern. It's a pattern, and I've said this many times in my teachings, is that patterns. You just got to think patterns. If you think patterns on the guitar, it'll be a lot easier to learn, okay? Now once you get that pattern down here, I would start right here in A at the 5th fret, get it on all the frets, you know, right here. In G at the 3rd fret, G minor. And the reason why that's G minor, because that's your G note on the 6th string. If you're going to play, say, in C minor, 8th fret. If you're going to play in D minor, that would be at your 10th fret. If you're going to play in E minor, 12th fret, okay? So I would start with that. Learn your scales, okay? Learn at least that one there. Get it down really, really well. Know that scale all over the fretboard, okay? Know what key you're playing it in, too. If you're playing in A minor, it's at the 5th fret. If you're playing it in G minor, it's the 3rd fret. F minor would be the 1st fret. E minor, the 12th fret. C minor, the 8th fret. B minor, 7th, D minor, 10th, so forth and so forth. So that way if you're thrown into a situation, you can know where to play it. Okay, that's very important. Know the scale and know where to play it. Now the third thing you need to know, once you learn the scales and you have a good sense of rhythm, is you need to learn what I call your personality traits. Okay, and what these are the things that bring the scale to life. Now if you just play the scale like this, you know, after a while that just doesn't sound very musical. You're just kind of going up the pattern, right? But if you learn personality traits, things like hammer-ons, pull-offs, slides, bends, vibrato, you know, then you start to bring the scale to life and make it sound more like music. You know, a hammer-on, pull-offs, slides, bends, vibrato, you're just vibrating the note. See, those are personality traits that bring the scale to life. You know, trills. And if you listen to solos, you'll hear these things in there, okay? Because solos are all about guitar licks, okay? So what you want to do is learn the personality traits first, and then learn how to create guitar licks out of them. You know, like all that is a hammer-on pull-off and a bend. Very common guitar lick, okay? This one right here where we bend on the 3rd string and then hit the 2nd and 1st string. Another very common guitar lick, used by all kinds of great guitar players, okay? And as you learn it, you'll hear it in songs. You'll hear many songs played all over the fretboard in different keys and everything, okay? So that's the 3rd thing I would recommend you do, is learn your personality traits. Your hammer-ons, your pull-offs, your slides, your bends, vibratos, okay? Trills, you know, things like that. Those are the things that are going to bring the scale to life and make it sound like music. Number 4, I recommend that you learn to read guitar notation. Okay, what I mean by that is learn how to read the written word. Okay, I know a lot of guitar players play by ear, you know, and it's great. They say, yeah, just play, I know where to play, I know where it sounds good. But you put a piece of paper in front of them and say, play that, they can't do it, okay? Because they've never really spent time learning how to read the notation. Okay, notation is just as important as being able to play by ear. Playing by ear is great. I'm not saying anything against that, but if you learn notation, learn how to read the notation, even if it's something simple like guitar tabs, okay, it's going to give you insights that you don't get from just learning by ear. Okay, and it's been proven, this is not my opinion, this is fact, you can look it up. It's been proven that the mind perceives information different when you look at it from a piece of paper as opposed to just listening to it. It's kind of like a book and a movie, you know. A book, you get a different perspective of the characters and the plot and all the things that are going on in the book than you do from watching it in the movie. It's just different. Not to say it's, you know, they always say the book is better, it's just because sometimes it's more detailed and they can only put so much in a movie in a couple hours. But the mind perceives things different, information different in the written word than just from listening to it. So, you know, if you're good at playing by ear, you know, and you want to play better, I would recommend seriously learning how to read notation. Get you a good guitar book, you know, maybe a good song book if you want to learn how to play songs, or if you just want to write your own songs and you want to learn how to play better solos over your own songs, then maybe get a book on guitar licks. You know, and learn those licks, and you're going to see very clearly that they're full of these personality traits that I've been telling you about, the hammer-ons, pull-off, slides, all that stuff, okay? And you're going to see insights into how things are done, okay, how their solos are created, okay? So I would highly recommend learning how to read some guitar notation, possibly even learn how to play songs by your favorite players, at least their solos. If you're not interested in learning the rhythms, you could get a book on just the guitar solos. I have some books back here on, you know, 100's greatest guitar solos, and the whole book is just on solos, okay? And you listen to those solos, you go through the book, and you learn them a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time. And what it does is it really helps you to develop patience, and it helps you to develop self-discipline, okay? And it also improves your ear training as well. So I would highly recommend learn to read guitar notation. Get you some guitar books and start studying them. Okay, watching YouTube videos is great. I'm not saying anything against that. That's a great thing. Keep doing that, but add to your legitimate guitar book. Number 5, the kicker is really the problem that I see with a lot of people who just, you know, have a problem with doing guitar solos, is you've got to put in the time. okay? You've got to put in the time. Most people, that's their problem. They just don't put in the time. I know, because there's a lot of things I've done, try to do, and I just didn't put in the time. I didn't put in enough time to really get the results. You know, I kind of got bored with it and moved on to something else, okay? You've got to put in the time. You've got to commit to the learning, okay? That's another thing that happens with a lot of people too, is they stop learning. You know, that's one thing that's great about music, is you can always learn something new. And what happens to a lot of guitar players, they get in ruts because they're not learning new things. They're not learning new techniques. They're not learning. Keep learning. You've got to keep learning. Pretty soon you're there like, yeah, I'm playing the same old, same old. It's because you're not learning new stuff. If you write your own music and you feel like you're just playing the same old stuff, you're writing the same old stuff, learn some songs from your favorite players. It's going to give you some insights on how you can approach the guitar differently. Okay, some different progressions, different melodies, different ways of constructing songs and stuff like that. It's kind of like driving a car. You know, when you get your license, you're required to have so many hours behind the wheel before you get your license. I think it's like 50 hours or something like that, driving time or something like that. If that's incorrect, please let me know in the comments below. Anyway, there's so many, you know, so much required time before you can get your license. Well, think of it like that as well. Playing lead guitar is like that too. You know, for you to play guitar solos and be able to phrase, you know, do good phrasing. Phrasing is basically like talking or singing with your guitar, you know, so it sounds good, okay? In order to do that, it takes time. You can't just do it overnight. It's like being a good writer, you know, novelist or a good painter, for instance, you know, writing, painting, playing music, they're all one and the same. You have to spend some time just getting in there and doing it. You know, a painter, a good painter like Van Gogh, somebody like that, their first painting wasn't good. Of course it wasn't. It took them probably 10, 20, 30 paintings to really start to get good and understand the colors and the techniques of the brush and things like that. I used to do some painting myself, so I know what I'm talking about when it comes to this. When I was doing some painting when I was a teenager, I used to take art classes, and there was all these things that we had to learn about, like the brushes, you know. If you use the brush a certain way, you get certain techniques out of it to like do trees and things like that. If you mix certain colors together, you know, yellow and blue would make a green, depending on how much yellow in there, depending on how much blue, you'd have the different shades of green, things like that, you know. And these are things, the guitar is the same exact way, okay. You've just got to learn the tools, learn how to use them. But you've got to put in the time, you know. There's this story from a long time ago, it's called 3 Feet of Gold, and it basically talks about a gold miner who was, you know, searching for some gold, and he quit like 3 feet before he found it. And you don't want to do that. You want to just got to push, put in the time, put in the time, put in the time, okay? You know, and the more you do it, you know, the more you go through this, you know, just this one scale. If you just do this one scale, okay? Don't worry about all the other ones right now. Just start off with this one scale, minor pentatonic. And you just get to know it really well, just up and down, up and down. You know, it takes time, it's going to take time, it's not going to happen overnight. And then you start working on these personality traits. And you learn to read your guitar notation. You're going to see, this is going to show you how to do that. And reading those books, I'm telling you, I've read tons of books. The internet wasn't around back then, so all I had really was guitar magazines, guitar books. So that's how a lot of us learned. Nowadays it's so much easier. You got YouTube and all kinds of these training apps and stuff, so you could learn a lot quicker, a lot faster. But never, you know, underestimate the fundamentals, okay? Master the fundamentals. You master the fundamentals, it builds you a nice solid foundation for everything that you learn that stands on top of that. Very much like a house, okay? A house has got to have a good solid foundation. If a storm comes through and it rips off the roof or takes part of the wall, you know, with it, if the foundation is solid, the house can be rebuilt. The only time it can't be built if the foundation is damaged. Then you have to tear it down and restart over again. But guitar playing is very much like that. You want to establish a very solid foundation. Okay, you do that, you'll be set. Okay, so quick summary of these 5 tips that I highly recommend you doing, and I guarantee they're going to help you out a lot. Number 1, get yourself a good sense of rhythm. I would highly recommend you practice rhythm first. If you got rhythm down, great. If you don't, go back and work on that. That's going to really help you to be better at playing guitar solos and blues licks and improvising. Because think about your improvising, your guitar solos, your lead playing, you know. The Just like the icing on the cake, you know what I mean? You got to understand the cake underneath at first, you know? Really good lead guitar players, you know, Jimi Hendrix, Eric Clapton, Jimmy Page, people like that, you know, they had a very good understanding of rhythm as well as lead. So they kind of go hand in hand, like cake and icing, you know, cake and frosting, I guess you could say. You know, cake by itself, okay, frosting by itself, okay, you put the two together, you got a magical combination, okay? So make sure that you understand a good sense of rhythm. Number two, make sure you learn some scales. I would highly recommend your pentatonic scales. Okay, that minor pentatonic scale is the most common one. I would learn that, have that scale down like it's the back of your hand. You know it back and forth, up and down, all over the fretboard. Okay, that's going to take some time. All right. Number three, your personality traits. Okay, your hammer-ons, your pull-offs, your slides, your bends, stuff like that. Okay, make sure you understand those, how they work, how they sound. And then we go through the pattern and these different techniques, you know. Double stops, stuff like that, because that's going to help you to develop the scale to make it sound more like music. Number four, I highly recommend you learn to read guitar notation, even if it's guitar tabs, you know. Read that because it's going to give you insights that you don't get from just playing by ear. And I've seen this happen many times with students who come to me. They've been playing for years, they can play by ear. I put a piece of sheet music in front of them, you know, a guitar solo, and say, here, play that. And then they can't do it. Well, over time, through our lessons, they learn how to do it and they start to realize, hey, I learned something that I didn't know before. And it gives you a lot of insights in how guitar solos are constructed, how to do phrasing, how to do all kinds of neat things that you don't get from just playing by ear. Okay? Makes you a much better player. All right, and number five, put in the time. Remember, it's not going to happen overnight. Your hands need time to develop. The muscles in your hands, in your fingers, you know, some of these techniques and concepts, the brain needs time to develop it and digest it and everything, how it all works together, stuff like that. And of course, the sixth thing, if you put in all that, work with some either backing tracks or get you a looper pedal and create a rhythm. You know, like I said, you got to have sense of rhythm. So create you a rhythm and then, you know, loop it and then play your solo over the top of it. And the thing with improvisation is it doesn't come overnight. It does take time to figure out how to do it. You're kind of like going out into no man's land. You know what I mean? And you are going to stumble. You are going to fall. You're going to have to get yourself back up. But as you progress and keep doing, you'll get better and better and better. And pretty soon you'll start to, you know, say, yeah, and you'll start to feel it better. But once again, it takes time. It might take you this much time. It might take you this much time. It might take you this much time. It doesn't really matter. All that matters is that you make the commitment to make it happen, do it, and I guarantee you when it's all said and done, you will become out the other side a much better guitar player. Let me know if you had any value from this video. I hope you did. If you did, be sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, share it if you know somebody who might be able to use it. Be sure to contact me through my website if you need to. Check out my guitar books, a lot of guitar books that I've been writing. You can find them on Amazon. The links to them below. And if you have any questions, let me know. Make a video to help you out. All right? So take these tips, use them, work with them, keep practicing, and I'll see you at our next lesson.